Hello. This is Ring or Dead. Today I will introduce to you a very important part of LOTR, Rise to War. That is units. Units are paired well to allow you to generate the most useful attacks on your opponent's land. Without further ado, start now. Sharpening knives is the same as chopping firewood. Of course, we must first fully understand the categories of each units, including the categories of units unique to a specific faction. This way you will have a better idea of which strategies work best for you. It gives you the proficiency you want to head right into the game's barracks and also begin training your choicest units. The One Ring will soon be yours, and we can't believe it. Middle-earth buffs. Start picking your exclusive troop.
Nice, I want to organize the strongest army. One Ring must be mine.
First, it's worth noting that no matter which faction you choose, you have 7 basic units available. Although there are differences in appearance, these units behave the same in every faction. Now let's introduce each newbie in detail. Showtime! First is the Hunter, the base range unit in LOTR, Rise to War. Let's take a look at its parameters. It is a melee type of units that can grow to Sentinel, Marksman, base damage, 15 to 16, 86 speed, 18 horsepower, inconsequential damage and poor HP. Nonetheless, their fast momentum for base units suggests they are beneficial purely through brutal force and mere numbers. When you upgrade Hunters, they will get more helpful, but they begin pretty vulnerably. The second is Horseback Archers, a long-range unit that shoots bows and arrows from horseback, and can grow to Bow Knight, Cavalry Archer. Base damage, 21 to 23, 127 speed, 56 horsepower. The Horseback Archers are supposed to be the next base unit that has stats that greatly outperform Hunters. They are also ranged units, shooting pointers from horseback. Nonetheless, it's worth noting that you may get fewer Horseback Archers in every squadron because they test at a sluggish velocity than Hunters. When they occur in smaller quantities, they would be singly bigger than the Hunter variety. The third is Outrider, also a melee type of units, can grow to Cavalier, base damage 26 to 37, 139 speed, 76 horsepower. Arms with a long sword on a horse are a bit handsome. Velocity is the cue here, with Outriders having the ability to reprimand into fighting and split at enemies, with decent HP stats for booting. The one downside is the number of resources that you'll want to draft. This is no minor cost. However, the bonus is an incredibly strong unit. The fourth is Warden, also a melee type of units that can grow to Herald. Base damage, 12 to 24, 80 speed, 28 horsepower. These units use shields and swords, meaning they are tougher for enemies to overthrow than others who march on foot. Having said that, the poor HP and destruction on Wardens of level 1 make them a dangerous choice because they may not do the stunt in the fervor of fighting. The fifth is Bowman. Finally, another long-range type of units. They can grow to Sharpshooter, Longbowman. Cool. Base damage, 9 to 15, 80 speed, 20 horsepower. It can be seen that speed is again the emphasis with this range unit, because its generally poor destruction and HP implies it cannot take several hits to bring them to the apothecary. Nonetheless, they are very simple to train, and when upgraded, sharpshooters become much more dominant in fighting, if yet a little vulnerable. The sixth is Militia, another melee type of units that can grow to Guard of the Tower, Spearman. Base level damage, 8 to 13, 89 speed, 24 horsepower. These units are adequate for padding your forces, guaranteeing you have got sufficient sheer quantities to simply overpower your enemy, This is because the attacking stats certainly are not something to awe at, with miserable damage which only soars to 12 to 15 if entirely upgraded. When you like units to absorb damage, they become helpful, but don't foresee them to gain a battle.
Wow, so detailed. Immediately my knowledge of them increased by 200%.
The 7th is still a melee type of units, Horseman. Can grows to Cataphract. Knight. Take a look at his basic parameters. Base level damage, 15 to 23. 132 speed. 65 horsepower. While not relatively as strong as the Horseback Archer, these steed riding units will deliver substantial attacking statistics while also sponging a respectable size of the damage. Little later advancements of these units become scarcely more massive with shorter speed. However, the upswing in destruction, to a considerable 26 to 35, extemporizes for it. The Horseman units are units to carry in the reason for melee combatants. The 8th is the Ranger, which is also a unit suitable for melee combat. The base level damage is 14 to 20, 100 speed, 30 horsepower, and can be grows to Dunedain. These units are a fraction of the lineage of man and they are barely unlockable while you join hands with the Arnor faction. There is a uniform mid-level accomplishment here, with strong attacking statistics that will gradually whittle down a competitor's health. Nevertheless, HP is low, and you may discover that Rangers perish very effortlessly. That speed stat is worth pointing out though because they can zip across the battleground sooner than many of the on-foot combatants. The 9th is the melee-type unit of the Dwarves, Dwarven Footman. Basic level damage, 8 to 11. 86 speed. 26 horsepower. Can grows to Guardian. Shield Bearer. Dwarves are a few of the most favorite fighters in Middle-earth. Although the low destruction of their rise to war units brings about an exquisite hard sell, these units can soak surplus damage, all thanks to an exemplary defense stat when fully upgraded. However, the inadequacy of attacking efficacy means they may not conduct well. When you are the type of player wanting a hard and dominant team, these units can put up with punishment, however, they can't truly dish it off. The 10th is Axe Thrower, which is a long-range type of units, with base level damage, 1 to 21. 77 speed, 22 horsepower, and can grows to Throwing Master. Axe Thrower. The Dwarven units tend to be hit and miss. Their use reaches more from the outset of throwable articles on the battleground than their destruction statistics, as an inaccurate or missed throw will occur in negligible destruction to your opponents. Nonetheless, momentum is the solution for these units, meaning these units can roam across promptly and go up the battleground, allowing you to grab more territory when holding the strength on enemy troops. Finally, the last one, Outrider. Melee type units. Base level damage, 24 to 28. 96 speed. 82 horsepower. Can grow, Ram Rider. That is right, these Dwarven units do their military busy on goats, and what's all the more startling is how beneficial they are in fighting. With constant, if scarcely low, damage statistics and substantial HP for booting, they may soak up tons of enemy strength while even dishing out an adequate amount of retribution themselves. Made all the stronger when boosted, they employ a ton of resources to conscript. However, the in-battle outcomes will make them all worth the risk. Now it's time to think about how to choose exclusive units in LOTR, Rise to War. Basically, some of the units listed in this video can be unlocked when you choose a faction at the beginning of the game. For example, when you choose the Arnor faction, if you go through the tutorial, you may be ready to recruit Ranger in the barracks.
So as long as you select the appropriate units to recruit according to the faction attributes, you can do it.
After watching this video, do you know how to build your exclusive military team? Remember to collect. It is very useful for your development and military use.